The sky was quiet, too quiet. It was a summer evening. The streets of New York were crowded, people laughing, cars moving, lights glowing. Everything looked normal, until the air began to hum. At first, people thought it was thunder, a storm coming. But the sound was too deep, too sharp. It shook windows and made the ground tremble. Children screamed, dogs barked, traffic stopped. Everyone looked up. There it was, a shadow spreading across the sky, larger than anything humans had ever seen. A giant ship, dark and silver, shaped like a blade cutting through the clouds. It moved slowly, silently, with only that strange hum filling the air. Phones came out, people recorded, some cried, some prayed, some just froze. Governments across the world saw it at the same time. Radars picked it up, alarms rang in every military base. Fighter jets were scrambled. World leaders shouted through emergency calls. But the ship did not attack, it only hovered, blocking the sun, drowning the city in shadow. And then it opened. A circle of light appeared at its center, glowing brighter and brighter, like a second sun hanging in the sky. From the circle, a beam of light touched the ground, right in the middle of Times Square. People ran, some fell, some stayed frozen, their eyes wide. The ground cracked, the air rippled. And then she appeared, a girl, or at least she looked like one, tall, slim, with long hair that glowed faintly as if made of silver threads. Her skin was pale but shining. Her eyes burned with light, not human light, but something powerful, something ancient. She was dressed in strange armor, smooth and black, glowing with blue lines that moved like rivers of energy. The crowd gasped, some screamed, others whispered, "An alien. It's real. Oh God, it's real." The girl looked around, calm, cold, her eyes scanning the city as if she had seen it all before. When she spoke, her voice echoed like thunder and music mixed together. "I am Serenia, daughter of the High Dominion. I came to conquer your world." Her words spread like fire, broadcasted on every phone, every news channel, every screen. Governments panicked, militaries prepared to strike. But the people only stared at her, half terrified, half mesmerized. A line of soldiers rushed into Times Square. Guns raised, tanks rolled in from the streets. Helicopters circled above. The commander shouted through a megaphone, "Drop your weapon, surrender at once." But she had no weapon. She raised her hands slowly, and the guns melted, the tanks froze, the helicopters shook in the air like toys. The soldiers screamed as their weapons turned to dust. Their radios went silent, their machines shut down. Not a single bullet was fired, not a single missile launched. She had disabled everything in seconds. She smiled, cold and distant. "Your weapons are nothing to me," she said. The soldiers stood helpless. The crowd whispered in fear, among them. A scientist named Daniel watched carefully. He had come running when he heard the news notebook still in his hand, glasses slipping on his nose. Unlike the others, he did not scream, he did not run, he only stared at her, studying her every move. There was something about her eyes. Yes, they were terrifying. But behind the fire he saw something else, something not so cold. The alien girl noticed him, her head tilted slightly, her glowing eyes fixed on his face. Everyone else seemed invisible to her in that moment. She walked closer, her steps light, almost floating. The soldiers tried to block her path, but she pushed them away without touching them. The crowd moved back, fear rising like a storm. But Daniel did not move. He stood his ground. Even when she stopped right in front of him, he felt the heat of her presence, the hum of her power, his heart racing like a drum. And then she whispered, soft, almost human, "You are different." The words shocked him. He wanted to ask why, but his voice stuck in his throat. She turned away before he could speak, raising her hands toward the sky. Her ship above answered with another beam of light, shaking the ground once again. The world was holding its breath. Some thought she would destroy the city. Some thought she would call her army, but she only looked back at Daniel for a brief second, her glowing eyes unreadable. And then she spoke once more, loud enough for the whole planet to hear. Prepare yourselves, humans, your world is mine now. The crowd screamed, chaos exploded, people ran. Soldiers shouted, jets roared above, but deep inside, Daniel knew this was not just an invasion. This was something different, something personal. He did not know why, but in her voice, in her eyes, he felt a secret that could change everything. And so began the story of Earth's greatest threat, and perhaps its greatest hope. Asterisk, the city was in chaos. Sirens screamed, lights flashed, people ran in every direction. Above them, the alien ship still hovered like a silent predator, its shadow covering the skyline. But in the middle of Times Square, where fear ruled the streets, one figure stood calm, tall, and otherworldly. Serenia, the alien girl, moved slowly through the panic. Her silver hair shimmered with each step, her glowing eyes scanning the humans like a queen looking at her new subjects. The soldiers tried to regroup, their voices shaky over broken radios, but their weapons were useless. Tanks stood dead. Helicopters had fallen back, and the proud might of Earth's army had become nothing more than frightened men with empty hands. And yet, she showed no interest in them. Her gaze drifted again and again to the human scientist Daniel. He did not know why she chose him, why her words had been directed at him, but his heart burned with both fear and curiosity. When the soldiers shouted orders, Daniel stepped forward. It was madness, he knew, but something inside told him to face her, not run. He raised his hand slowly, showing no threat. "You don't have to do this," he said, his voice trembling but steady enough to reach her ears. The alien girl tilted her head, her eyes narrowing as though his words were strange. "No one tells me what I have to do," she answered. Voice soft this time, almost gentle. The soldiers screamed at Daniel to move back, to stay behind the barricade, but he ignored them. Around them, the city had become a cage of silence and fear. Cars burned, glass shattered, the ground cracked where her beam had touched. But Daniel saw something beyond the destruction. When she looked at him, her eyes were powerful, yes, but also searching, as though she was not here only to conquer, but also to understand. "You are different," she whispered again, repeating the words from before. Daniel blinked, confused. Different how? But she did not answer. Instead, she stepped closer, so close he felt the strange warmth of her presence. The soldiers panicked. One raised a sidearm and fired a desperate shot. The bullet never reached her. It stopped in the air, melted into nothing. Her eyes blazed, and with a wave of her hand, the soldier was thrown back like a leaf in the wind. The crowd gasped, screams erupted again. But Daniel did not move. He looked up at her and spoke, his words shaky. "If you came to destroy us, then why are you sparing me?" The question lingered in the air, heavy. For the first time, she hesitated. Her lips parted, as though she wanted to speak the truth. But the moment was shattered. Alarms wailed louder. The army released drones into the air, small machines buzzing. Like angry insects, they swarmed toward her, trying to surround her. Serenia lifted both hands, and the drones froze mid-air, their lights blinking before falling dead to the streets. But in that instant of distraction, Daniel saw it, a flicker of pain in her expression. For the first time she looked tired, as if holding back her power was costing her something. The scientist inside him awakened. She was not invincible, not a goddess, but a being with limits, with secrets. And if she had limits, maybe she also had emotions. Serenia turned back to him, her voice sharper now. "Your kind does not understand. I am here because your world is weak. It must belong to us." But Daniel saw her hand trembling slightly as she spoke. He took a careful step closer, ignoring the soldiers shouting at him. "Maybe we are weak," he said, "but we are more than what you see. We laugh, we fight, we love. That is what makes us strong." For the first time, her eyes softened. She looked at him not like an enemy, but as something else, something she had never studied before. The silence between them felt heavy, but not hostile. And then, unexpectedly, she asked, "Love, what does that mean?" The question hit Daniel. Like lightning, was she serious? An alien conqueror asking about love? He tried to answer, fumbling with words. It's when you care for someone more than yourself, when you protect them even if it costs you everything. Her eyes glowed brighter, reflecting his face. Something stirred in her, something dangerous but also curious before Daniel could say more. A blast shook the ground. The military had launched missiles from outside the city, desperate to end the threat. The sky burned with trails of fire heading straight for her. The crowd screamed, soldiers ducked, Daniel froze. Serenia raised her arms, light exploded from her body, and in seconds, the missiles dissolved into harmless dust. The air sizzled, the ground cracked, and silence followed. She had saved herself, but also saved everyone in the blast zone. Daniel realized it at once. If she wanted humans dead, she would have let the missiles fall. But she didn't. The alien girl lowered her hands slowly, her breathing heavy. She looked around, then back at Daniel. You will show me this. Love, she said firmly, not as a request but as a command. And before anyone could react, she stepped forward, touched his shoulder, and in a flash of light, both of them vanished. The crowd roared in panic. The soldiers screamed. The cameras caught everything. But Daniel was gone, taken by the alien girl who had come to conquer. And for the first time, the world wondered if humanity's future rested not in weapons, but in the strange bond between one human and one alien. Asterisk, the light faded, and Daniel gasped. One moment he had been standing in the middle of Times Square. The next he was inside a place that did not belong on Earth. The walls glowed with shifting symbols like rivers of light flowing across smooth metal. Strange shapes hovered in the air, humming softly, as if the room itself was alive. He stumbled back, heart racing. Where am I? Serenia stood calmly in the center, her glowing eyes fixed on him. You are inside my ship, she said, her voice steady. Only here can we speak without your people interrupting. Daniel's throat felt dry, fear and awe tangled inside him. He looked around. There were no doors, no windows, only endless glowing walls. It was like stepping into another reality. The scientist in him wanted to study every detail, but the man in him only wanted to survive. Why? Did you bring me here? He asked, his voice trembling. Serenia paused, her expression unreadable. Finally she said, because you are different, and because I need to understand something. Daniel frowned. Understand what? She looked away for a moment, as if fighting a war inside herself. Then she turned back, her eyes sharp. I was sent with a mission, a secret one. Your world is not ready to hear it, but you must. The words chilled him. He waited, his hands shaking. Afraid of what she might reveal, Serenia walked slowly across the glowing floor, her armor glinting with light. My people, the Dominion, do not send fleets without reason. They believe Earth is dangerous not because of your weapons, but because of what you might become. She raised her hand, and suddenly the wall transformed into an image. Daniel gasped. He saw Earth, spinning in space, but surrounded by hundreds of alien ships waiting just beyond the moon. A hidden army, silent and patient. They wait for my signal, she continued, her voice heavy. When I send it, the invasion will begin. Your armies will fall in hours. Your cities will burn. Your species will kneel. Daniel's knees weakened. He nearly collapsed. This was not a threat anymore. It was a certainty, an entire fleet already prepared. Watching, waiting, he looked at her, his voice breaking. Then, why haven't you sent the signal? For the first time, Serenia's expression cracked. Her glowing eyes dimmed slightly. Her lips pressed tight. I was ordered to. The moment I landed, but she hesitated. Something is wrong, something I did not expect. Daniel stepped closer, sensing the shift in her tone. What is wrong? He asked, desperate, her gaze locked on his, intense and burning. You, she whispered. The word struck him like thunder. Me? He asked in disbelief. She nodded slowly. When I saw you, I felt hesitation. It is forbidden for us. Emotions make us weak, but in you, I see questions I cannot ignore. Daniel's chest tightened, his fear battling curiosity. She had the power to destroy everything, yet she spoke as if she were the one uncertain. It was almost human, but before he could speak again, a sharp sound filled the chamber. Her armor lit up, symbols flashing rapidly. A voice echoed in the room, deep and commanding, speaking in a language Daniel did not understand. Serenia stiffened, her body tense. Her people were calling, demanding an update. She clenched her fist, silencing the voice. "They grow impatient," she said coldly. "They suspect my delay." Daniel swallowed hard. "Then you have a choice to make." Her eyes narrowed. "A choice between loyalty and—" She hesitated. "And something I do not yet understand." Silence filled the chamber, heavy and suffocating. Daniel's heart pounded. "You don't have to destroy us, if there's even a part of you that doubts. Then listen to it." Her glowing eyes studied him, sharp and unblinking. Finally she asked, "Tell me, why do your people fight for a world so fragile? Why not surrender to something greater?" Daniel took a deep breath, his voice steady now. "Because it's ours. Because even in our weakness, we choose to live free. We choose to love, to build, to dream. No dominion can take that from us." Serenia's face softened, the glow in her eyes flickered like a candle. She turned away quickly, hiding the conflict on her face. But Daniel saw it, the crack in her armor, the war inside her. Then suddenly, the wall shifted again, showing not Earth this time, but children playing. A street filled with laughter, a family sharing food. Daniel frowned. "What is this?" Serenia whispered, almost to herself. "Memories. Not mine, but something I saw when I touched your mind." Her voice shook for the first time. "You fight not for power, but for moments like these." The silence was broken by another sharp alarm. The Dominion's voice returned, harsher this time, demanding the signal, demanding conquest. Serenia closed her eyes, her hands trembling. Daniel stepped forward, daring to place his hand on her arm. "You don't have to obey them," he said softly. "You can choose something else." Her eyes opened, glowing brighter than before, but not with cold fire, with conflict. "I should kill you for these words," she said, her voice shaking. But instead, she stopped, her hand hovering as if unsure whether to push him away or pull him closer. The alarm grew louder. Red light filled the chamber. The Dominion demanding her loyalty. Serenia's jaw tightened, and she whispered, "The mission is clear. Yet my heart is not." Before Daniel could respond, the floor split open, and a new platform rose between them. On it rested a small black device, glowing with crimson light. Daniel knew immediately. The signal beacon, the key to Earth's doom. Serenia looked at it with burning eyes, her hand hovering above. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Do I call the fleet, or do I betray them?" The world's fate balanced in her trembling fingers. And in that silent moment, Daniel realized the conqueror of Earth was no longer certain of her mission, and maybe, just maybe, that was humanity's only hope. Asterisk, the beacon still glowed red. In the middle of the chamber, it pulsed like a heart, each flash echoing across the walls. One touch, one command, and Earth would fall. Daniel stared at it with dread, while Serenia stood frozen, her hand hovering just above the surface. Her people's voice echoed again in her mind, sharp and commanding. "Send the signal, Serenia. Complete your mission." But her fingers trembled. Her eyes flickered with something she had never known. Before hesitation, she lowered her hand slowly, the device still untouched. Daniel exhaled, not realizing he had been holding his breath. "You stopped," he whispered. "You chose not to." She turned to him sharply, her expression caught between anger and confusion. "I did not choose," she said. "I delayed." "There is a difference." Daniel stepped closer, his voice steady. "Sometimes delaying is the first step to choosing." Her glowing eyes narrowed, as though his words carried weight she did not want to admit. For hours, or what felt like hours, Serenia did not give the signal. Instead, she paced the chamber, asking Daniel strange questions. What does hunger feel like? Why do humans smile when they are afraid? What is music? Daniel answered each one, his words simple, his tone calm. He explained how hunger was not only pain, but also a reminder to live. He spoke of fear and how humans smiled to show bravery. He even hummed a tune, a soft melody he remembered from childhood. Serenia tilted her head, listening, her eyes softening with each note. The ship around them responded strangely. Where the walls once glowed with cold blue light, they now shifted faintly. As if reflecting her mood, Daniel noticed it. The ship was alive in some way, connected to her emotions, and for the first time, he realized she was changing. Later, she allowed him to leave the chamber, guiding him into different parts of the ship. It was vast, endless corridors glowing with shifting lights, machines humming softly, but what caught his attention most was when they reached a wide, transparent wall. Through it, Daniel saw Earth below, blue and beautiful, spinning silently in space. He pressed his hand against the glass, whispering, "Home." Serenia watched him carefully, her expression unreadable. To her, Earth was only a target, a fragile world ready to be taken. And yet, when Daniel's voice carried that single word, home, something stirred in her chest. She looked at the planet differently, not as land and resources, but as a place of belonging. Why protect it? She asked quietly. Because it is ours, Daniel answered. Flawed, imperfect, but it is ours to love, not yours to take. His words lingered, echoing inside her more deeply than she wanted to admit. Days passed, or what Daniel felt. As days, Serenia did not send the signal. Instead, she studied him, walked with him, asked him to show her human ways. She replicated food using alien devices, but made him explain the taste. She let him teach her about rain, showing her old videos of storms, and once, when he laughed at a memory, she tilted her head and asked, "Why does that sound? Make me feel lighter?" Daniel smiled gently. "That's laughter. It means you're alive." For the first time, she tried to mimic it, a soft, awkward sound that made Daniel laugh harder. She looked almost embarrassed, but for a brief moment, she was no conqueror. No weapon, only a girl trying to understand, yet the shadow of her mission never left. Every night, the beacon pulsed red, calling her back to duty. Her people demanded updates, their voices sharp and suspicious. She lied to them, saying Earth's defenses were still being measured. Each lie pulled her further away from her dominion, closer to something dangerous, closer to humanity. One evening, Daniel noticed her standing alone by the viewing wall. She stared at Earth, her eyes glowing faintly, her hands clenched. "You are fighting yourself," he said softly. She turned, anger flashing. "You think you know me, human? You do not. I was bred for conquest, trained for obedience. I should have destroyed your planet already." Her voice broke for a second, but I did not. Daniel stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Because you are more than what they made you, because somewhere inside, you don't want to be their weapon." Her breath caught, her glowing eyes locking onto his. The silence between them was heavy, charged with something neither could name. Finally she whispered, "You make me weak." Daniel shook his head. "No, I make you human." Her hands trembled, and before she could stop herself, she asked again, "Tell me of this love." Daniel hesitated, but then spoke, his words slow and steady. "Love is when you choose someone, even when the whole world tells you not to. It's when their life becomes more important than your mission, your orders, even your own survival." Serenia's lips parted, her breath shallow. She had been trained never to disobey, never to feel. But his words cracked something inside her. She looked back at Earth, and for the first time she wondered, if she had the power to destroy it, did she also have the power to save it? The beacon still pulsed, waiting for her hand. Her people still demanded her loyalty. But her heart, once cold and silent, had begun to beat with something new, something dangerous. A bond was forming. Fragile, Forbidden, but real. And in that bond, the fate of two worlds now rested. The red beacon pulsed endlessly. A constant reminder of the choice Serenia had not yet made. Every flash painted her face in crimson light, like chains she could not escape. Daniel noticed the way her eyes lingered on it, the way her hands twitched as if torn between duty and something else. But he also saw the softness that had started to grow in her, the cracks in the armor of a conqueror. Days had passed inside the alien ship, though time no longer felt real. Daniel had spoken with her about everything: laughter, pain, family, love, and each time, Serenia listened as though every word was a forbidden treasure. Her voice grew quieter, less commanding, her eyes less sharp. She was changing, but change has a price. On Earth, the world was not still. Governments grew restless, armies prepared for war. The sudden silence from the ship only fueled their fear. They could not allow a human scientist to disappear into an alien vessel. They could not trust that the alien girl was hesitating out of mercy. So they created a plan, a desperate one. Late one night, Daniel awoke inside the ship, his body shaken by a deep rumble. The chamber's walls glowed bright red. Alarms echoing. Serenia appeared in front of him, her expression hard and cold. "They are attacking," she said, her voice sharp. "Your armies are sending weapons into orbit. They mean to break into my ship." Daniel's heart dropped. "They don't understand," he whispered. "They think you're stalling for something worse." Her eyes burned as she turned to him. "Are they wrong?" she asked bitterly. "Am I not their enemy?" Before Daniel could respond, the ship shuddered again, this time harder. Through the viewing wall, he saw streaks of fire, missiles, drones, machines trying to pierce the alien shield. For a moment, Serenia raised her hands to destroy them, but then stopped. Her chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. Torn between anger and restraint, it was then that Daniel saw movement in the chamber behind her. A squad of armored soldiers, humans, had breached the ship using experimental tech. They moved swiftly, weapons raised, faces hidden behind masks. Daniel froze, realizing what this meant. They weren't here to destroy the ship, they were here for her. The soldiers spread out, surrounding Serenia. Target in sight. One hissed into his radio. Engaging. Serenia's eyes blazed with fury, energy surging through her hands. But before she could strike, Daniel rushed forward. "Stop!" he shouted. "Don't hurt her!" The soldiers hesitated, surprised. One of them snarled, "Stand aside, Doctor. You don't know what you're dealing with." Daniel spread his arms wide, shielding Serenia with his body. "I do know," he said firmly. "She hasn't sent the signal. She hasn't destroyed us. She's fighting herself, and you'll kill the only chance we have to survive without war." For a heartbeat, silence filled the chamber. Then one soldier lowered his weapon slightly, but another raised his voice. "She's manipulating you, can't you see? That's what they do. They twist your mind, make you think they care." The words struck Daniel like ice, because deep inside, a small part of him wondered, what if they were right? Serenia's voice cut through his thoughts, sharp and wounded. "So even you doubt me?" Daniel turned quickly. "No, I don't." But his hesitation had been enough. She had seen it in his eyes. Her glowing face hardened, her voice trembling with fury and pain. "You were different. I thought you were different." The soldiers opened fire, strange plasma rounds designed to pierce alien armor. Serenia raised her hand and deflected them, but she didn't fight back, not at first. Her gaze stayed on Daniel, her expression a storm of betrayal and sorrow. Finally, with a cry that shook the chamber, she unleashed her power. The soldiers were thrown across the walls like ragdolls, their weapons shattered into dust. Only silence followed, broken bodies groaning on the floor. Daniel's chest ached as he whispered, "Serenia, please, I didn't mean." But she stepped back, her eyes glowing brighter, tears of light trembling at the edges. "You all see me as a weapon, even you, the only one I spared." Her voice cracked. "Maybe that is all I will ever be." Daniel reached for her, desperate. That's not true. You're more than that, I swear it. But she turned, her silver hair whipping around her like a blade. Her voice thundered across the chamber. No more lies, no more hesitation. If I cannot be trusted by you, then I cannot be trusted at all. The beacon pulsed faster, crimson light flooding the room. Her hand hovered above it once again, this time with fury, not doubt. Daniel's heart nearly stopped. Wait, he cried. If you do this, there's no turning back. Her voice was sharp and bitter. Maybe there was never a way back. The air hummed violently, the ship trembling under her power. Daniel fell to his knees, his voice breaking. Serenia, don't let anger decide for you. Don't let pain make you their weapon again. For one moment, her glowing hand trembled, but then she pulled it away, turning from the beacon. Her face was cold, but her voice cracked. You betrayed me, Daniel. And yet, I cannot bring myself to betray you. She opened a portal of light behind her, her figure trembling as if holding back emotions she could not control. Before stepping through, she looked back at him one last time. Do not follow me, she said softly, her voice carrying both rage and sorrow. And with a flash of light, she was gone. The chamber fell silent, the beacon still pulsing. The soldiers broken and scattered. Daniel collapsed to the floor, his heart heavy with guilt. He realized too late that trust, once broken, was harder to rebuild than any city. And now, somewhere between Earth and the stars, an alien girl carried both the power to end humanity and the wound of a heart betrayed. Asterisk. The alien ship drifted in silence above Earth, its shadow stretching across the oceans, but inside Serenia's heart, there was no silence, only war. Her people's voice thundered in her mind, demanding the signal, demanding obedience, and Daniel's face haunted her, his words about love echoing in the spaces where orders once lived. She stood in the command chamber of her ship, alone now. Her hand hovered over the red beacon, glowing brighter with every passing second. If she touched it, the invasion fleet beyond the moon would descend. If she destroyed it, she would be hunted as a traitor, stripped of everything she had ever known. Her body trembled, her chest rose and fell. For the first time in her life, she did not know who she was. Her people's voice returned, colder this time. Why do you delay, Serenia? Send the signal, prove your loyalty. Her lips trembled, her voice cracked as she whispered, what if there is another way? The voice grew sharper. There's no other way. Conquest or death. Those are the only paths. Her hands tightened into fists. She turned her gaze to the viewing wall, Earth shining below, fragile and bright. She remembered Daniel's smile when he spoke of home, the way his voice carried warmth even in fear. She remembered his hesitation too, the doubt in his eyes, the sting of betrayal. Her heart twisted painfully. He had broken her trust, yet his words still burned inside. Her ship shook violently. Alarms screamed. Through the wall she saw it. The Dominion fleet was moving. Countless warships sliding out from the dark side of the moon. They had grown impatient. They would invade with or without her signal. Serenia's eyes widened. No, she whispered. They cannot. The chamber doors opened suddenly, and Daniel stumbled inside, bruised, his clothes torn from the earlier attack. He had refused to stay behind with the soldiers. He had fought his way back to her. Serenia, he cried, his voice desperate. Listen to me, you still have a choice. She turned sharply, her glowing eyes filled with fire and sorrow. Your people tried to kill me, you doubted me. Why should I believe you now? Daniel's chest ached. His voice cracked. Because even now, you haven't destroyed us. You could have ended everything. But you didn't, because deep down you don't want to. Her hands trembled, torn between rage and longing. You make me weak, she whispered again, her voice shaking. Daniel stepped closer, ignoring the danger. No, I make you strong enough to choose. The fleet outside loomed larger, their weapons glowing with deadly light. The Dominion's voice filled the chamber again. Stand aside, Serenia. We will finish this conquest ourselves. Your hesitation has marked you unworthy. Her jaw tightened, her chest heaved. She looked at Daniel, then at Earth, then at the beacon. Everything inside her screamed in different directions. Duty against heart, fear against hope, and in that storm, she finally understood what choice meant. Her voice thundered, filled with both pain and power. I was sent to conquer, but you taught me what it means to care, what it means to love, and I will not let your world burn. She raised her hand, light exploding from her body. The beacon cracked, its red glow sputtering. Daniel shielded his eyes from the blinding flash. Serenia screamed as she crushed the device, shards of alien metal scattering like dust. The connection to the fleet shattered, silence followed. But the Dominion's voice returned, sharper, furious. Traitor, you dare defy us? Then you will die with them. Outside, the warship shifted, weapons charging, preparing to fire upon Earth without hesitation. Serenia collapsed to her knees, weakened by the destruction of the beacon. Daniel rushed to her, holding her trembling body. You saved us, but now they'll destroy you, he whispered. Her glowing eyes looked up at him, soft and fragile. Then I will save Earth another way, she whispered back. Before Daniel could respond, she pressed her hand against the ship's core, her energy pouring into it. The walls trembled. The ship roared like a living creature. Light surged through every corridor, the entire vessel awakening under her will. Daniel realized what she was doing, his voice desperate. Serenia, no, you'll burn yourself out, you'll die. She smiled faintly, her silver hair glowing brighter than ever. You told me love is when you protect someone more than yourself. Now I understand. The ship shook violently, power surging outward. Through the viewing wall, Daniel saw beams of energy shoot from the vessel, slamming into the Dominion fleet. Warships exploded one after another, their light scattering across the dark sky like fallen stars. The fleet tried to fight back, but Serenia's will was stronger. Her entire body glowed with blinding energy, her voice crying out in both agony and defiance. Daniel held her as her strength faded, her glowing eyes dimmed, her hands trembling in his. She whispered, her voice breaking, I was meant to be their weapon, but you made me something else, Daniel. Something human. The last of the Dominion fleet shattered in the distance. The sky cleared. Earth shone safe once again, but Serenia's light dimmed, her head resting against his chest. I chose you. I chose love, she breathed softly, and with that, the glow faded from her eyes. Her body falling still, Daniel's tears burned as he held her close. The girl who came to conquer had become the savior of Earth, and in her sacrifice, humanity had been given not just survival, but a reminder that even the coldest heart could choose love. Asterisk, the sky above Earth was filled with fire. Pieces of broken warships burned as they fell, glowing trails across the night. Humanity stood watching from below, soldiers, children, families, all staring at the heavens in awe. They had expected the end, but instead they saw salvation. Inside the alien vessel, Daniel held Serenia in his arms. Her body glowed faintly, but the brightness that once made her untouchable was fading. Her silver hair lay heavy against his chest, her breath shallow, each word a struggle. You are safe now, she whispered weakly. Your world is safe. Daniel shook his head, his voice breaking. Not without you. You don't have to die, there has to be another way. Serenia's glowing eyes flickered, searching his face as if trying to memorize it. There is no other way. I gave my life to break the fleet, to protect what I finally understand. Tears blurred Daniel's vision. You don't understand. You're more than just power. You're more than their weapon. You could have lived here, with us, with me. Her trembling hand rose to his cheek, soft against his skin. For the first time I wanted that, she whispered. But love is not always about having. Sometimes it is about giving, even if it costs everything. The ship around them began to dim, its glowing walls fading like a dying star. Without her, it could no longer sustain itself. The alarms grew softer, the hum weaker. The great vessel slowly descending toward Earth's atmosphere, outside. People panicked, fearing the falling giant, but inside, Daniel only held her tighter, refusing to let go. "If you die, then your sacrifice will be forgotten," he cried. "I won't let that happen." Serenya's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Then remember me, Daniel, not as the conqueror I was sent to be, but as the girl who chose humanity." Her glow weakened further, her body growing colder. Daniel pressed his forehead against hers, whispering through tears, "You came to conquer us, but you conquered me instead." The ship shook violently as it entered Earth's sky, flames licking its outer hull. Daniel knew this was the end, but then, something strange happened. The vessel responded one last time to her dying will. It split apart into fragments, breaking into hundreds of glowing shards that burned harmlessly in the atmosphere. What should have been a deadly crash became a rain of light, a shower of stars falling gently across the earth. On the ground, people pointed upward, shouting in wonder. Children clapped. Thinking it was fireworks, soldiers dropped their weapons, staring at the beauty in silence. No one knew the truth, that a single alien girl had saved them all. Inside the fading chamber, Serenya's light flickered one last time. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Daniel, you gave me something my people never could. You gave me choice. You gave me love." Her glowing eyes dimmed completely, her body turning pale and still in his arms. Daniel screamed her name, his voice breaking, but there was no answer. He held her tightly, rocking her lifeless form as the last of the ship dissolved into falling light. The girl who had come to destroy Earth was gone, leaving behind only the memory of her sacrifice. When Daniel awoke, he was lying in the ruins of Times Square. The alien ship was gone, nothing but glowing dust scattered across the streets. People surrounded him, pointing, whispering, their faces a mix of fear and awe. He stood slowly, still clutching the empty armor she had left behind. For him, it was not just debris, it was proof of who she had been. News spread quickly across the planet. The invasion fleet had been destroyed, the alien ship gone, but no one understood how or why. Governments declared it a miracle, scientists argued endlessly, yet Daniel knew the truth, and in his heart, he carried her secret. Late that night, he stood alone, staring at the stars, his voice soft, trembling. "She saved you all, not with power, not with fear, but with love." Tears rolled down his cheeks. But there was pride too, because Serenia, the girl who came to conquer, had left behind more than just survival. She had left behind hope, and as he looked at the sky, a single shooting star streaked across it, brighter than all the others. Daniel smiled faintly through his tears. "Goodbye, Serenia," he whispered. "You will never be forgotten."